Yo, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children over the age of 18. Welcome to episode 29 of the Smack Talk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Pro Wrestling Kingpin, and I'm here joined again with my amazing co-hosts. We got the king of the Twitch Gaming Network Spear, whatever you guys want to call it over there, AOK Gaming, and then we got the king of the wrestling trolls, the Yugi Master himself, Gonzo. What's going on, guys?
I hate Dak Prescott.
All right.
Okay.
Gonzo hates Dak
Moving
Prescott.
on.
We're going to get that out the way so we can remain a wrestling show. He lost in fantasy football. Sucks to suck. It is what it is. All right. Do we got that all out there now? Are we good? Anything else you want to
Are
say?
you good?
It'll
No.
come up later too, probably.
All right. Cool. All right. Once again, guys, welcome to episode 29 of the Smack Talk Wrestling Podcast. This is the Bad Blood Fallout. We had a lot of wrestling this week. We did get 1 hour less, so Raw is not 2 hours, so I thought that was pretty nice. But once again, if you guys don't know what's going on, or if this is your first time listening or watching this live stream or listening to the podcast, this is a WWE podcast. We talk about all the mainstream that happens this past week in pro wrestling. Just so happens we have a PLE. You can join us every Wednesday night, usually at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. But starting November 3rd, we will be going on Sunday nights, probably 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, but we will keep you posted. But if you just don't like watching us, you can always listen to us on Spotify. So please go ahead, look up the Smack Talk Wrestling Podcast on Spotify, and you can listen there. If you are watching us live, please don't refrain from just commenting. Join the conversation. We will highlight your comments. We will talk about those comments. And if they go along with what we're talking about, we will definitely maybe even include it into the topic. But once again, guys, pretty stacked show. We're talking about, once again, this past week in pro wrestling. Bad Blood is the highlight. So without further ado, let's just quickly go over SmackDown. That was your typical go-home show before PLE. So we had, real quick, we had Carmelo Hayes versus AJ Styles, unfortunately ending in a no contest because AJ Styles' return match, he was hurt. He got hurt mid-match versus Carmelo Hayes. The stipulation of that match was if Carmelo Hayes would have won, he would have got a shot at the United States Championship. But that's unfortunate, so we're going to have to see what happens with that. Michin defeated Chelsea Green in an absolute fire dumpster match, which was just absolutely amazing. We'll go over that in a second. We had Naomi defeating Tiffany Stratton. One thing that I do want to just highlight real quick from that match, it's not even the match itself, but the announce team reiterating that Tiffany Stratton can cash in on any champion on any brand. So hopefully we don't have an Austin Theory situation, but it is possible. And then we had the main event triple threat tag team ladder match. We had the Bloodline retain against DIY and the Street Profits, which is pretty good. So we have 4 matches, I believe, on SmackDown. Yeah, 4 matches. Couple notable segments. We had Nia Jax advising Tiffy to focus on cashing in on the Raw brand and do not betray her. So we have that tease going forward still. And then we keep getting this car chase video package for a new wrestler or team that is coming. I know you guys are not big time TNA fans, but I'm like 99% positive that is the Motor City Machine Guns, and they are a legendary tag team from TNA. But who knows? But real quick, so Gonzo, with that being said, I just gave you the quick recap of SmackDown. Is there anything for SmackDown you'd wish to, bring to light that you want to talk about, something that interests you or hated? Go on.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch SmackDown, and I had to totally avoid all spoilers until Sunday. I did see the PLE, though, so unfortunately, I can't really speak too much on SmackDown.
Angel.
Okay. When it came to SmackDown, mostly the Nia Jax thing was the biggest thing I thought came out of that segment of all the segments was Nia Jax talking about Tiffy to focus on cashing in the Raw brand. Because I'm really wondering, like, is that something she could do? Like, I want to, like, really, really focus on, will we see Tiffy jump to Raw which if that was possible, that's something that's going to happen. How bad of an outcome that would be for SmackDown, because they are already so limited in general with talent, and I don't know. I guess the whole point is that she's going to betray Nia, and that's what everyone wants and thinks. But like, what if she doesn't? And she goes for one of these other titles. I don't know. That was the biggest thing. Obviously, AJ getting hurt. I watched that live, and I knew he was hurt right away. He tried to fight on it, but I don't know. It wasn't exactly smooth, and he looked pretty pissed off at the end of that match. I don't know if it's a work. To me, it's not. You could give your opinions on that. Michin and Chelsea was a great match. It was fun. It was funny. Michin's been getting dubs, so I don't know. She's getting pushed. We'll see what she does. I feel like Michin, she's got a lot of like momentum behind her as far as matches. She's got to do a little bit more off screen or off out of the ring a little bit. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, the triple threat tag ladder match. Yeah, I don't know.
I thought SmackDown was pretty good. It was a pretty solid go home show with everything going on. To your point, as far as Tiffy asking, would that be a legitimate destination for her? I don't know. I think Nia Jax is playing off the story that's what she wants. So she's just fueling that fire. Like, hey, go somewhere else. Don't betray me. Because if you betray me, like I'm gonna kill you. But I think right now the obvious is Tiffany's gonna have enough of her shit eventually and cash in on her, or at least try it. I mean, but who knows at this point? I mean, losing Tiffy, like we've been saying it for the past couple weeks on the show, SmackDown does not have the star caliber and storytelling that Raw has by far. So if for whatever reason Tiffy decides to cash in on a Raw champion, whoever that may be, I don't think that's the route, just because now you're going to lose another star. And I know Gonzo mentioned that last week. You're going to get him another star to Raw. I don't think that's the move. You got to keep Tiffy there. Tiffy will definitely 100% be able to shine. There's just too many stars. Liv is hitting on all cylinders on Monday Night Raw. Rhea Ripley, we don't even have to go explain how hot she is right now. And then you have the added element of Raquel Rodriguez, who's back, which we'll get to later. There's just too much going on. I mean, eventually Becky Lynch is going to come back as well, and she's technically a Raw superstar. She's not under contract, quote unquote, but she's going back to Raw. That's the brand she's going to be. Seth Rollins is there as well. It's already known in the wrestling world that they like to travel together. So there's no way that Tiffy, while I think she'll have banger matches with all those women, I think for her to come into her own on the main roster, she's got to stay on SmackDown and cash in on whoever that champion's going to be.
Do you think a Liv versus Nia at Crown Jewel is something that WWE wants?
It's booked. I mean, you always have. I mean, I think Raquel Rodriguez being back adds to that element, because Raquel is not a small chick. You know what I mean? So
Raquel allows Liv to compete in that match. You're saying
exactly, because otherwise we're gonna get a Nia Jax squash. You know what I mean? And that's not me shitting on Nia Jax. That's just
Liv can barely.
Nia Jax has played into that squash role.
Once Triple, I know I'm veering off a little bit, but once Triple H came out with that not stupid, but the Crown Jewel idea, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But
we will.
If we just talk about the women's part, I was like, oh snap, is Rhea gonna win this? Like, because I was thinking right away, like Rhea versus Nia is definitely a thing, right? Like that's possible. Liv versus Nia, I'm like, ugh, I don't know about that one. So I thought Rhea had a shot, but yeah,
I don't know, but there's that. As far as the AJ Styles, moving on. As far as the AJ Styles injury, I think it's legit. I don't think that's a work by any means, unfortunately. I think he legitimately got hurt. Like the referee had to stop that match. You could see how pissed off he actually was when that happened as well.
Yeah, he was pissed.
So I mean, it just really, really sucks, dude. But I think that's legit. When it comes to the dumpster match, I thought that straight up stole the show. That was better than the main event, and it sucks because we all know how much I love tag team wrestling. We all know that the TLC #1 is my favorite match of all time. But don't get me wrong, that match was great too. But that dumpster match, the finish that Michin set up with having a table over the dumpster for the finish, I have never seen that. And I could recall maybe 4 dumpster matches that I witnessed. That was so creative. And she straight up powerbombed her through the table into the dumpster. That was just amazing. That was my favorite night. Absolutely amazing. The tag team title match, solid. But one thing I do want to note is that the Bloodline won clean. There was no other involvement. They beat those 2 champions clean. So I don't know. It's not real big. I'm not saying that's like another motive or anything like that. I just want to make that note that usually their defenses are because of the bloodline.
Mr. Botch Tongan too grabbed the belts, which was interesting. I thought.
Yeah. So that's what I do. I did want to note that it was actually a clean victory for once from the bloodline, which is very rare in the past 4 years of bloodline history. 5 years. I don't even know anymore. But
yeah, they pretty much they booked it, or I mean, the outcome was the Street Profits and DIY betrayed each other too harshly, and Bloodline were able to capitalize. That's how the ending came about.
Yeah, 100%. But it was a good go home show. 100%. If you have nothing else on SmackDown, let's move on to our main topic with the Bad Blood. Do you have anything else you want to know from SmackDown at all?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, cool. All right, so Bad Blood. Bad Blood was a decent pay-per-view. A lot of people are in love with it. I'm not. I'll let you guys take the reins on that before I rip it to shreds. But real quick, so we had CM Punk defeating Drew McIntyre in the Hell in a Cell match. We need to talk about where do they both go from here. We'll get that there in a second. Nia Jax defeating Bayley to retain the WWE Women's Championship. We had more teasing between Jax and Tiffy. Damian Priest defeats Finn Balor. Rhea Ripley defeated Liv Morgan by disqualification. We saw Raquel Rodriguez come back, which is why Liv Morgan got the loss. Dom was suspended in a shark cage. They really played into that, his claustrophobia and afraid of heights. We had Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns defeat the Bloodline. And, of course, we saw Jimmy Uso return and the final boss return, setting up for Survivor Series. I just want to note or say thank God we are not getting another Avengers versus Bloodline. It really seems as though we're going to have a Bloodline war. So we'll see. We'll get that in a second. And then we had arguably the greatest heel turn, or I'm sorry, not the greatest, but the most creative heel turn I've ever seen in Kevin Owens turning heel on Cody, relying solely on fan recording to get that heel turn out. So I thought that was pretty dope. And of course, we had the Triple H announcement where each champion from the men and women will compete against each other for the Crown Jewel Championship. And you know what? Before we talk about the rest of the show, let me call an audible. Let's just talk about this. What do you guys think about this title? There it is. Triple H unveiling the AEW Women's Championship. Oh, I mean the Crown
AEW.
Jewel. The Crown Jewel. It's the AEW Women's Championship. Google it. The Crown Jewel Championship for their alternate reality show.
I've seen the AEW Women's Championship.
So he unveils the AEW Crown Jewel.
I'm wearing AEW right now.
I know. So, but Google the title, bro. Gonzo, since you didn't really get to talk about SmackDown because you didn't watch, let's start with the Crown Jewel Championship. What are your thoughts on this before we get into the rest of that show?
It annoyed me.
It annoyed you. Huh?
It annoyed me. I mean, to keep it really simple, because he comes out and I figured he was just going to talk about how this is the biggest show, X amount of people, and then it zoomed out and all of a sudden you have the podium there with a concealed title. I said, well, what is that? And sure enough, he gives the spiel and then he goes into it, he reveals it. And honestly, that title is ginormous. That's like a 70-inch flat screen television. And then he started talking about how it's going to be champion versus champion, but no titles are on the line. And it's going to be that way for the women and the men. And I said, okay, I guess, like, why?
Once a year.
Yeah, and they're going to have this title. And no, I mean, everything about that, it's too forced. Like, I'm not saying that I have to like everything that WWE puts out, because they put out a lot of content that I have really enjoyed in this last year. This is one of those pieces of content that I would rather just erase from my memory banks right now. I mean, it doesn't really do too much for me.
Angel, before I rip it a new one with my, rants, do you have anything you'd like to say about the Crown Jewel AEW the Crown Jewel Championship?
Yeah. As far as how it looks, I get it. Yeah, it's humongous. It looks like it belongs on, like Braun Strowman or like Bronson Reed, but whatever. Anyways,
I'll pull it
as
back
far
up
as
for
the
the viewers.
concept,
There
as
you
far
go,
as the
guys.
concept of it, to be honest, I don't mind when they try new things. Okay, and I don't mind when they bring out new titles. The speed title is kind of a dud. This title, to me, it doesn't have any weight to it. I think it has a cool concept to see these dream matches, as we would call it, in any other, realm where you see, because WWE is so big, we got two different brands pretty much at this point in the world, and you get to see like I was alluding to earlier, you know, Nia versus I guess Liv at this point, but Nia versus Rhea would have been a cool one, and then obviously we have it's already booked Gunther versus Mr. Rhodes. So it's cool. The matchups are cool. And I don't mind it because these people can't lose their belts anyway, as far as Cody's concerned, right? And Gunther, yeah. So as far as the women's titles, like they could lose their titles, but no titles being on the line, but having these matchups, I don't mind it. But the idea of it having a belt, I think, is weird because the belt is kind of just going to be there. And then what is Cody? Let's say Cody wins. Is he going to carry that thing around for a year? No. And then if he loses his WWE title, let's say at WrestleMania, does he just like forfeit that title over? Does it just go back vacated? They need more explanation of exactly what this means. I don't get it. Kind of like, can you lose that title? Can someone compete against it besides just that Crown Jewel? You just say, yeah, I won it. And then it goes back into the locker for a year until next Crown Jewel. And then it just comes out of the locker. It's like, oh, who's going to win it this year? Is that kind of how it is? Because then it should be like maybe a cup or a trophy or a status. I don't get why it's a belt. I think that's the hardest part for me to go with it. So I don't mind the idea. I like new ideas, but it's kind of weird.
I was going to say before Mark jumps in and does his thing, the timing of this is another problem for me as well. Crown Jewel is in 3 weeks now, technically. And so all of a sudden you have this new title, new stipulations, limited information about various things like Angel just talked about. And you have them piecing together these feuds that for the most part, some of them don't have any substance to it. Or you're placing it right into gigantic feuds already that have so much on the line. Why then would you include this right here to appease a crowd that you barely will only see once a year? And this is a problem that Crown Jewel has had. And Mark, I'm sure I'm stealing some of your comments here, where this has been the problem now for several years, where you have had to allocate all of these resources to appease these individuals, right? And so it takes away from the main focus of essentially what you're doing. So that's why I said, I have a big issue with this because it's rushed, it's thrown together, and all of a sudden I have to now worry about Goldberg showing up at Crown Jewel to interfere with this Gunther match because he called him out at the Bad Blood pay-per-view. So
we'll get there. Stay on the title.
Okay. So I mean, but like I said, these are the things that are now running through my mind as far as like bringing in star power and just random things here. So
I mean, they do have to bridge now to War Games and Royal Rumble and so on. So they have to do something, right, to make you interested. So that's why I said the idea isn't I don't hate the idea. It's just like how they're doing it, like you're saying and stuff. That's the part that's like it's too convoluted, and we're not getting it. And then you talk about the whole thing of where it's located and who they're trying to make happy. That does come into play with it, and they're trying to like soup it up somehow. So this is like Paul's way of souping it up for where it's going to be at and who they're trying to make happy. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I agree with you a little bit.
My last comment that I'll say is, and here's another reason that I have a direct problem with it is WWE has reverted back to long-term storytelling, and you have Crown Jewel where they just vomited stuff at you. So that kind of goes against everything that they've been doing here of lately, where there's been long feud story, build. Where this is, again, just something where I feel like it's all just thrown together and just thrown at the crowd now.
Okay. I'm good.
Are you guys good?
Yeah, I'm good.
We figured we'd save you from yourself a little bit.
You did. So first of all, I want to give Gonzo some props here. He made up for him, absolutely not watching SmackDown, which, it's not part of the show. It's not named after our show at all, but whatever, But yeah, so you did hit a lot of points, and it's just one of the Marvel universes for WWE, this fucking crown jewel. Where in Earth, what is it?
616 is the primary timeline.
Yeah, we're in Earth 616, and fucking Crown Jewel is one of the 161 other universes that are there. You know what I mean? In the Marvel universe. It's just nuts to me. So Gonzo already hit some of the points, so I'm not going to go and just say the same things. But they do, what I do want to go is highlight his point is that they do rush things, and they just do things to appease these individuals. So this Crown Jewel Championship, to Angel's point, is not bad. It really isn't. Because it is kind of like, I know you guys hate when I reference AEW, just bear with me. This is a positive, but it's kind of like the Owen Hart.
Got you, dog.
It's kind of like the Owen Hart tournament that they do, which is once a year. They have a belt that they win, and that's it. They don't defend it. And I think, obviously, we need more information. There hasn't been much information about this Crown Jewel Championship, but I think it's kind of the same concept in regards to once you win it, you just have that title. And you're the Crown Jewel 2024 champion. And then next year, they'll do the same thing. AEW does an Owen Hart tournament, and whoever wins becomes the Owen Hart Foundation champion. They get the belt, obviously with commemorating Owen Hart and his wrestling lineage and all that stuff. And that's what it is. So this is my problem with it now. So I don't mind that, because I don't, much like the NBA, like everyone hated that in-season tournament. I don't mind these random little tournaments in wrestling. I think it gives you something when there is a downtime leading up to a PLE. So I think I would have enjoyed it more if it didn't involve our champions and it was a tournament leading up to it.
Like a mid-card more.
Like
vibes.
a mid-card tournament, or people that are not doing anything, people that need some direction.
Yeah, but
like
where
right
it's
now,
located, they wouldn't want that. That's
correct.
The problem.
That's the problem, and I 100% agree with you. Just like they had to have a special Royal Rumble that Braun Strowman won in that alternate universe of Crown Jewel, and now they have this alternate universe champion. But here's the big problem. Now you have Gunther versus Cody. You're going to have Liv versus Nia Jax. Who takes the L? Mm-hmm. For a long time before Roman Reigns lost that championship, what was he saying about Seth Rollins? When he had his World Heavyweight Championship.
The B team.
The B team. The second-rate title. The title that was created because you couldn't win the big championship. This is the second place trophy. So now you bring that aspect back to your main champions, which Gunther has done a fantastic job, and those that carried that belt before them have done a fantastic job. But now, is Gunther going to beat Cody Rhodes? No. He's not going to beat Cody Rhodes. Are we going to have a dirty finish? Like Gonzo mentioned his Goldberg theory. Are we going to have a dirty finish for the first ever Crown Jewel champion? That's bad booking, in my opinion. If you're going to have someone come and then Cody's going to win, not clean because they have beef. Someone always looks bad in that regard. So now basically Cody, the undisputed Universal Champion, more than likely is going to go over on Gunther, setting the stage of, okay, now we have Cody is the clear-cut top-tier guy, and that's who the Crown Jewel people want. Or Crown Jewel people, what am I talking about? The people in Saudi want for their Crown Jewel champion. And then, obviously, Liv Morgan and Nia Jax is kind of a toss-up, which is actually going to be very interesting if you ask me. But someone's still going to have to job out to the other. How do you, as a championship holder, be like, I'm a championship holder. Why am I going to job out? You see what I'm saying? So it's like you're making someone look weak for this alternate universe title that presumably is not going to be defended, that Angel says now they're going to have to carry it out for a whole year until next year's championship mark. Like, it's pointless.
I don't see them carrying it, to be honest. I think you're going to see it that night, and then you're never going to see it till next year. I don't see them carrying it.
It's like a trophy. It's like a trophy. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's a trophy. They're going to be like, yay, and then that's it. You're not going to see it until 2025.
The only thing you're going to hear, you're going to hear Samantha Irvin be like, and here comes Cody Rhodes, the crown jewel champion and the undisputed universal champion.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're going to get.
Yeah.
But that ends my rant on the new championship. But for the rest of the show, Angel, is there anything from the rest of the show, Bad Blood, you'd like to highlight? Did you like? Did you hate? Your rating for the show, maybe? How did you like the show overall? Stuff like that.
It was you talked about it. Out of 5, I gave it a 3.5. I think it was bad. It had some cool spots. The Punk McIntyre match was really fun. They obviously beat the shit out of each other. We knew that was going to happen. It wasn't very surprising, I guess you would say, or like unexpected. A lot of the stuff that they did or how it went down kind of how we thought it would. And they kind of just killed each other in there, which was cool. It was fun. Hope they're okay. You saw McIntyre's staples on his head. Hope he's all right. Punk looks pretty fucked up, but he showed up still for Raw, which was a good sign. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about their future. Nia defeats Bayley. I mean, that was cool, I guess. The Tiffy spot obviously was fun and interesting, but it's kind of the same thing we've seen before. It was the closest we saw to Tiffy actually maybe doing it, but so be it. Damon beats Finn. Did not like that. Finn should have won. I was not a fan of that outcome at all. Rhea versus Liv was actually a good match until the end. The ending was very lackluster. I did not like how it ended. And then obviously the Bloodline is the main story here. It was a fun match. It was cool to see Roman back in an official match since forever now. Him and Cody, they seem like they still got their little chemistry, even though they're teammates now. And it was cool to see people not happy about it. Rock, and of course, Jimmy coming back was my favorite part. I wanted Jimmy Uso to be back for a long time now. Be back with his OTC. He repped his OTC really well, and that was cool to see. Roman showed a lot of love to him, and I was very surprised that they ran back into the ring to support Cody. That was very interesting, and I was not.
They fully embraced the face turn.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go with. That I think Roman is back to face Roman all the way. Like, to support Cody in that moment was very surprising. I thought they would walk out and let Cody get his ass whooped, and then, that's it. And then maybe Rocky came out and whatever. And then Rocky comes out, and, I'll let you guys talk about that because that was obviously the biggest part of what's coming next. So I'm good.
Before we move to Gonzo, you mentioned CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. So where do they go from here, in your opinion?
As far as where they go, man, that's tough. I think they are going to take a hiatus, each of them, for a little bit because their stories were just so huge. Seth has his own story going on right now. I think they'll be involved with Seth, obviously, as we saw on Raw, with Punk and him having an eye to eye for a moment. Drew, he's going to get in that mix for that heavyweight championship. I think Punk's going to get in that mix for the heavyweight championship. There's so much talent on Raw. I mean, they could go and face whoever the hell they want at this point. I think it'll be good if they take some time. It'll be easier for us to accept the transition away from each other because we've been seeing the heat with them for so long. We don't want to really, it's like, how can we just like be cool with them forgetting about each other? Not to say that they will completely forget about each other, but they need to kind of take steps in other directions, and maybe they can get back to each other at title, pictures and stuff like that, tournaments, whatever it may be, to get back into the title picture and become number one contenders.
Agreed. Gonzo, what are your thoughts, bud, on the pay-per-view or PLE? Excuse me. Oh my God, I'm gonna get shunned.
PPV. The PLE, I enjoyed it a lot. I only cared about the Hell in the Cell and then the Bloodline, so 2 matches really, because I was very disconnected. You had the match of the year in the Hell in the Cell started off, arguably.
Match of the year. Wow.
That's how high I have that. They brought relevance back to a match that had lost its way for a very long time. Marc has talked about this throughout the years where they made a pay-per-view out of Hell in a Cell. Here you have a specialty match that did not have an entire pay-per-view revolved around it. It was used in a specific moment. There was story, there was depth. How, because should it have gone on last? There's arguments for that. Should it have gone on first? Obviously, there's arguments for that. The Rock comes back naturally, so therefore, how could you not close out the show with The Rock? Could you have done that potentially in the middle of the show? I mean, there's a lot of creativity that you could have done, but this is just my opinion, is that you have
Rock,
arguably...
real quick, Rock is not going to let them do him in the middle of the show. He wouldn't do that. Sorry. That's Rock. He's going to be the last one to
because
show.
Rock is now all ego, bro.
Yeah, he is. Sorry. I just go ahead. Sorry, Gonzo. But yeah,
not that I believe that, but I mean, these are possibilities, right? That potentially could have happened. So Hell in a Cell, match of the year, I'll say so far. Arguably, this is Drew McIntyre's greatest match he's ever done. This arguably could be one of the top 3 matches that CM Punk has ever done. The relevance that they brought back, this now rivals what, Hell in a Cell, the very first one.
Rock has been all since the day he was born. Welcome back, Derek.
Gotta love it. So matches after this Hell in a Cell, it was really hard to follow that, honestly. So I did enjoy the matches. I felt like the Damian Priest and the Finn Balor match was like a Raw main event. I mean, there really wasn't anything too spectacular about that. It actually disappointed me in a lot of ways.
You would have liked it more if Finn would have won.
We all had Finn going over, so we all took the L on that one as far as predictions go.
We all predicted this PLE pretty shitty, to be honest.
Nia versus Bayley. I mean, that was a pretty good match, especially with Tiffy coming out, the Liv versus Rhea. What I will say about this is Rodriguez comes out, and I'm very happy that the referee did not insult the intelligence of everybody in the world, because he blatantly
for the pin?
It wasn't even the pin. It's the fact that Rodriguez attacked Rhea Ripley right in front of him, and he immediately just called for the bell. So I wanted to say,
Raquel, she brought her into the ring and put Liv on top of her. I'm like, why is she doing this? Like, the match is over.
It was a botched finish, definitely. She came out a little bit too soon, or something happened, obviously. But again, I'm just happy that the referee, again, did not insult our basic intelligence and was forced to call that match a lot sooner. That's why I think that was so awkward at the end. And then you have the main event, right? As far as the Bloodline versus Cody and Roman, you have the return of one of the Usos. Crowd popped for that. That was fantastic. Papa Croc comes out. He looks very, I guess you could say, upset, rather peeved as to what was going on, especially his gesture of the 1, the 2, and the 3, and then he does a slit throat after that and then disappears. Probably one of my favorite things, and this was after the whole thing goes off air, is you have Kevin Owens confronting Cody Rhodes. And I'm sure that whole thing was about, what are you doing? All of a sudden now, the enemy of my enemy, you are now rolling with them. What is going on here? And then, of course, he attacks Cody Rhodes, right? So it's a way
the most creative heel turn in the modern era.
Can you guys explain what happened exactly with the Kevin Owens thing? I heard about it, but I did not see it.
So
there's footage
on Instagram, it surfaced shortly after, to where it was far away, kind of like an aerial where, like, I guess you could say, they're in the parking lot, and then this person is video recording this from afar. So it's a fan, and you can't hear any audio, but you can see the two jarring at one another, and Cody's trying to talk to him, and then Kevin Owens just walls up and just smacks him in the face, and he just starts going after him.
At some point, Cody has the nose injury that he came out to Raw with?
Yes.
Not Raw. Well, yeah, what was Raw? He came out to Raw with the nose injury.
Yes, that's exactly why. So ultimately they get separated, and then Kevin Owens actually leaves. I think, was it Marc in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini? He just like peels off in that, and that's how that ends. And even The Rock was cutting promos like he typically has been.
Oh, I saw The Rock one. Yeah, that was good.
Where he's walking in and just giving his feedback on it. So those were the things that I actually had enjoyed, were not so much on the show, but it was the things that were done after the show, using different types of platforms. And this is where we had talked about this even last week, how they're making everything special and hitting various counts of people that are watching, whether it's live, whether it's on social media, if it's, again, certain network television. So this is, again, just another nod to how WWE is really just hitting all their fans and allowing people to catch certain things that maybe other people didn't see. And it also allows people to then search and then come right back to things that maybe they have overlooked. A good example is, now you're probably going to search up the Kevin Owens scrum here. And so what else are you going to come find, and what else is now going to be in your algorithm because of that?
It's just more social media impressions for WWE.
Cinematics and social media, yeah.
So and those are my thoughts.
Because all that plays into views and ratings now. Because, back when we were growing up, it was like, okay, which channel are we watching? That's ratings war. All these social media impressions and everything all adds into it, which is why everyone always like attacks like AEW, like, oh, they're losing in the ratings. I'm like, but that shit really doesn't really matter as much anymore, because as long as they're getting those views on YouTube and TikTok and everything else, it all plays a role. As long as that you're trending in some type of way, that's what it is. And that's what the WWE did in art. Like I said, it's the most creative heel turn in the modern era. Like I that is something I could not even conjure up in my dream of being a promoter. I would never think of that. But like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go off the air out of a major PLE, and you're just gonna go beat the shit out of Cody, and we're gonna hope that the fans see it and just put that shit on social media. Like there is no WWE camera footage.
I doubt it was a random fan. I think it was their own footage. They just made it
probably
look like
probably.
Yeah.
But there's some of the snips right there.
Yeah.
They were confronted they were talking, by Cody's truck, I believe, and then that's when everyone just
how it's 100%. Like they talked about it on Raw, and they were like, "We are not going to talk about it." Like blah blah blah. Joe Tessitore gave the whole like by the book. We're not going to discuss. And then when they asked Cody when he came out to Raw, he's like, "I'm not going to discuss that." Like they're making it this whole like, "Oh, this doesn't really happen," but obviously, it's part of the story.
Oh yeah, of course. But I thought that was fantastic.
4 out of
the
5
line
for the PLE. That's my grade.
Oh wow, you liked it. Oh, you liked the first fight, the first match. That's why.
That's pretty high to me. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I know we discussed it earlier. I felt as though the beginning of the show really hit. Obviously, the Hell in a Cell was fantastic. Gonzo really hit it on the nose. I felt like those two really brought the Hell in the Cell lore back, and the fact that they didn't even leave the cell is crazy to me, and it was not needed. That's how personal that rivalry was, and that's why it was so good. Obviously, the main event delivered as well. We had all the spots, everyone returning. The Rock. We could sit here and decipher what this means all day. It could mean Survivor Series. It could mean, I'm gonna kill you, Roman. Like it doesn't matter. But the only thing I just didn't like was I felt like everyone in the middle just didn't hit. The feuds. The name of the paper or PLE is Bad Blood, and all these feuds that were on here, with the exception of Bayley and Nia Jax, were so personal. You have bad blood, hence the PLE name. And
you don't think Nia and Bayley have bad blood?
I mean, she beat Bayley for the championship.
Each other for a year.
It's nowhere near as personal as the others, in my opinion. Nowhere near. But however, that was the best match in the mid card. Damian Priest and I'm blanking out. Finn Balor should have hit. Obviously, Finn Balor should have went over, in my opinion. But that match did not hit for me at all. Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan turned into let me fuck with Dom spectacle. Which, why are you DQing Liv Morgan when you allowed Rhea Ripley to use a kendo stick? Beat the shit out of her. She brought it in there.
Oh, Cody used the chair during that tag match. And I was like, what's going on? And they just let it happen. And I was like,
exactly.
I've never seen a chair use in an official match and not get called. And the ref was standing right there. He was not.
He saw the whole thing. I felt
saw
like
the entire thing. And I was like, so we're just not going to call this.
Felt like
Cody, was that supposed to happen, bud?
Yeah. I felt like there was bad officiating. I feel like that Cody spot, that was my next point, which the match was good. The match is fine. The match was good. But you had, I feel like they missed a spot where they were supposed to hit the referee or distract the referee and whatnot, because Cody Rhodes, your face, blatantly has a chair in front of the ref and was like, okay, it's Cody Rhodes, bro. You're good, bro. It's all good. No problem. Like, come on, man. And then you're DQing Liv Morgan because Raquel Rodriguez, but yet you let fucking Rhea Ripley just walk around with weapons and fuck with Dom the entire time. There was no count outs. Like that, she let Rhea Ripley do whatever the fuck she wanted. How about
she talks to the ref and the ref says, "Yeah, go ahead, you deserve it."
Yeah, with the referee.
You deserve it.
Yeah, with the referee.
Was he like, "You go ahead, you deserve it," or something? Like that? Like, what's going on? I thought this was a title match.
It just turned into, okay, I have this bad blood feud with Liv Morgan, but I'm gonna fuck with Dom. So it didn't hit for me. The best match in the mid card was Nia Jax versus Bayley, and I felt like their feud was not the worst. It was not as, there was not as much fuel to the fire as it was to everyone else, and I felt like they really hit. And the tiffy part, was really good. I felt as though they should have teased a little bit more with Tiffy, maybe have her come out to watch the Raw match or something, but whatever. Those are just my things. That's why I gave it a 3. The main event and the opening show, as they should, they were bangers. The Rock coming back. I'm just really glad that my prediction of last week doesn't seem like it's going to come to fruition, where we're having some type of another Avenger team in the Survivor Series match. It does look like we're going to get Bloodline versus Bloodline with the addition of Cody Rhodes possibly. So we'll see with that. If there's nothing else, guys, we can move on. Is there anything else you guys want to say about the Bad Blood PLE?
Do you guys have any thoughts about Rocky and like his whole thing? Is he going to be the head of Solo's side? Like, is that what you guys are vibing?
So there was another fan video, which
You didn't watch
Gonzo,
it? I
watched it already. Yeah,
No, I saw
There's
it.
another
That's
fan
what I'm asking
video.
you. I saw it.
Solo, as Rock came out, was in the stand saying this is the plan. So now it seems like Solo once again got the short end of the stick, and he has not been the tribal chief this entire time. It seems as though The Rock was pulling the strings this entire time, and Solo once again just gets another L. Poor guy. However, he's been doing fantastic work. Character growth is what I'm all about. So fuck you guys.
Hey, I like Solo. Take that back.
So no. So because you were just
much
you were
better
with
than he
this
was
guy.
in January. I'll say that. He's
So,
much better
but yeah,
than
it seems as though
January.
The Rock has in fact been pulling the strings, which we did reference, months back. This entire team. So I guess we'll find out more on SmackDown, hopefully. Anything else you guys want to talk about in Bad Blood before we move on?
No, I'm kidding now.
All right, we're gonna take a little break from the serious stuff, and we're gonna play a little game that we like to call Guess the Wrestler. You guessed it. That's right. It's gonna be AOK 4-0-3. He has yet to lose versus the winless Gonzo. Gonzo is 0-4-2. Once again, Gonzo, you guys are on teams. You're just trying to get yourself a win here. But I will be presenting this week's Guess the Wrestler. What are you talking about? Sorry, you guys don't see that, right? I deleted it. There's a bot comment. I deleted it. Yeah. But so all right, once again, Guess the Wrestler, guys. I'll be presenting 90 seconds. If you guys haven't seen us play before, 90 seconds on the clock. These guys will alternate making guesses or asking a question to guess the wrestler. Winner will remain on and continue, and the loser will have to present to me and whoever wins. If they both draw for whatever reason, they will have a rematch next week. Everybody clear on the rules, and if for whatever reason they do not guess within the 90-second time frame, they will get one more guess. No question. They would just get one final guess, and we will just get going. So are you guys ready to play Guess the Wrestler? Because I have a new twist for you guys this week.
Can you review the people that have been used already?
We have used Bret Hart, Rikishi, John Cena, Rey Mysterio, Triple H, The Undertaker, the greatest of all time, Chris Jericho, The Rock, Cody Rhodes, and the 80s knockoff of Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. You guys good on that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, 90 seconds on the clock, guys. Give me 1 second.
Who's first, me?
You guys can decide who versus Rock real quick. I'm looking up something. All right, here we go. All right, who's going first?
I'll go
Gonzo,
first.
go
There you
first.
go.
All right, so before we guys start, I'm gonna give you guys a disclaimer here. We are playing Guess the Tag Team today, guys. It is going to be a tag team today.
Got it.
All right, so that's gonna help you guys a little bit. You normally play Guess the Wrestler. This is Guess the Tag Team, and 90 seconds on the clock. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Are they retired?
Yes.
Are they the New Age Outlaws?
No. Great guess.
Were they mostly known in the 90s?
Yes.
Did they hold the tag team titles?
Yes.
Hardy Boys?
No.
Edge and Christian?
No.
Were they known for the Attitude Era?
They were known in the Attitude Era.
Team 3D?
No.
I think I know. I think I know it.
Is it Too
It's not your
Cool?
turn. No.
The Brothers of Destruction?
No.
What the fuck?
Have they ever held a World Heavyweight Championship? Like one of the individuals?
Yes.
Ooh. Rocco Sacco Connection?
No.
Triple H and Stone Cold.
No. 30 seconds left.
DX?
No.
Do they have iconic music?
I guess.
Oh,
yeah, you'll
APA?
know him. Yes, Angel got it. Game.
Let's go!
Angel wins again. David's so mad. The APA, one of the most underrated tag teams of our era, better known for their skits with Crash Holly, 4-time tag team champions. John Bradshaw Layfield was a world heavyweight champion.
Yeah, that was the one that got me when I was like, oh shit, JBL had the title. That's how I remember
Yep.
APA.
They are not in the Hall of Fame as a team. However, they are in the Hall of Fame as individuals. So there we go. The APA protection. Good job on hell. Gonzo, you're on 5, my man.
So
Sorry.
I'd rather take this loss versus a Dak Prescott beating me.
Ooh, Dak Prescott resurfaces once again. All right. Once again, guys, if you guys enjoyed that, please message us if you guys want us to use your team or guest the wrestler in future episodes. But going on, let's move on to Raw. Raw was pretty lit as well. Raw 2 hours now, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. It flowed very well.
Yeah, but if SmackDown goes to 3, dude, I'm fast forwarding.
It's going to.
Yeah, I'm fast forwarding, dude. I'm not watching all those matches that don't matter. That's no
so all right, but Raw is now 2 hours. We had Jey Uso defeated Xavier Woods to retain the Intercontinental Championship. Woods walked out post-match when Jey Uso tried to extend the hand. Braun Breaker came, and we thought we were getting face breaker, and he's like, nah, I'm going to spear Jey Uso post-match, which was a really shitty spear. She's starting to do that rolling spear, and I don't like that. I'm just saying.
Oh, my God.
It reduces injury risk.
But Mark, he does all the spears. He has all the spears in one arsenal.
He specifically used that rolling bullshit spear that Bobby Lashley uses.
Okay, well, that it was a post-match spear. He doesn't need to do.
So yeah, Breaker spears Uso post-match. Xavier Woods refused to help Jey Uso, and Kofi attempts on his own, which ended up causing Woods to get speared himself. Further fueling their separation and his heel turn. Sheamus defeated Pete, aka Butch Duns, in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match, which is just another hardcore match. Lyra Valkyria, Natalya, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, and Zelina Vega defeated the Unholy Union and the Pure Fusion Collective of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then Gunther defeated Sami Zayn to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. And Cody Rhodes at the end meets Gunther on stage to promote Crown.
You forgot to highlight the most important thing from Raw.
What was that?
Angel's prediction that is coming true about Karrion Kross and crew.
Well, I mean, I'm not done going over the show. So
he just went over the facts.
That was the match card. We got some notable segments. CM Punk addressing the crowd on his future, says he's banged up and he doesn't know what is next. That immediately came to a Seth Rollins interrupting and causing his promo. He teases a feud with CM Punk and says he hopes that he gets better so he can beat his ass and retire him for good. That was pretty good. And he also says that Seth Rollins is back to destroy Bronson Reed and challenges him to a 1v1 match. Rhea Ripley says she's not done with Liv. Ethan Page teases a main roster call-up with his beef with CM Punk because, that's my boy, All Ego. And then we had Karrion Kross because David was impatient and didn't read the thing. Karrion Kross getting in the head of Miz, basically kind of pulling the strings on these things when it comes to Xavier Woods and the Miz. The Miz and Truth. We're getting the Miz and Truth one-on-one next week. And then during that, we had a Wyatt 6 glitch during the segment. So what do you think of all that, Gonzo? How was Raw for you?
Raw was entertaining. And unfortunately, I was super happy. And then I realized I lost to Angel yet again. So again, I just consistently I'm just on a losing streak here. This is fantastic. But the Karrion Kross, there's going to be some relevance. There's going to be a resurgence. The Authors of Pain with the Wyatt Six, that's going to be some good television when they start transitioning into that whole thing. As far as that gigantic women's brawl match or whatever that was, I was very confused as to what was going on, and especially Natalya just coming out of nowhere. I said, why? Why are you here all of a sudden? But Raw really saved it, where you have the interactions of Seth Rollins interrupting CM Punk, and then Seth Rollins gets interrupted, right? And here we go. That whole opening segment was very good. The Gunther versus Sami Zayn match was fantastic. Those two can definitely go. As far, I think they went for what, 30 minutes? Something like that.
I
That
thought Sammy was going to win for a second. I was like, yo, what's going on here?
That was a big time that they had set aside for those guys in particular. And so there was one other thing that really caught my interest for the Raw. I can't remember what it was now, but those were pretty much my big highlights that really stood out to me.
Angel, do you have anything you want to say about Monday Night Raw?
I find it interesting that Rhea's keeps talking about Liv, but I don't know where that's going to go right now. Like, that was so hot at some point, but now it's like, how much more can we see?
I mean, it wasn't a clean victory, so that's what it is. I mean, she's eventually has to just get her one-on-one with no judgment.
At her own, she was the cause of her own demise, though. She had the win in the bag, and she just.
I mean, but she didn't.
Maybe that ending.
She didn't ask for Raquel Rodriguez to come out.
Timings were off. She told the referee, "I have some business to handle."
I mean, 100%, I agree with that, but she didn't ask for Raquel to come out either.
As far as, was that a botched mistiming? Who knows? It could have been. There could have been more that should have happened before that. We don't know. But right now, the way the story played out for the audience, Rhea fucked up. So, I mean, it is what it is. You only get so many chances, but I don't know. I think like Becky's needs to come back or something and give Rhea something to fight for here to get back to Liv, because she just doesn't keep getting these chances. That's like,
it's not
Rhea, she's the GOAT, but come on.
It's not that she's just getting the chance though, but I mean, storytelling wise, it wasn't a clean victory. I get it. I get what you're saying. She constantly has Judgment Day involvement. Now she has Raquel Rodriguez, who's presumably part of the Judgment Day. She was asked if they were part of the Judgment Day. They wouldn't give her an answer. I mean, she eventually has to have, much like Damian Priest and
nice.
Finn
but the
Balor,
rest of the Raw roster has a chance at getting the title just as much as she does.
Not until she gets her. She did not get to have her one-on-one. Per the story, it's just a story.
Okay, and then you wait till next year. Like Cody had to wait to face Roman a year later. That's just how it works. You get back in line. That's it. Sorry, you knew that she has the numbers. You know Roman has the numbers. You want to go out there alone and try to beat them without any help? When
in wrestling story have you just seen them be like, yeah, too bad, so sad? I mean, she's gonna bitch. She's gonna get her one-on-one. Ethan Page does the same thing. Like it's an easy story.
Ethan just fought for his title shot. He had to beg The Rock's daughter for it, and he's getting a triple threat match next week.
Yeah, but what did he do? He bitched about that. He felt like he should have had it right away. It's the same thing that Rhea's gonna do.
Okay, Rhea's getting a third match now to do this.
It wasn't clean. Ridiculous. It's a tale as old as time in wrestling. It wasn't clean,
Rhea, and I love Rhea. Rhea's one of my favorite.
Do I agree with you that the story? Do I agree with you that the story needs to move on? Yes, but it's a tale as old as time in wrestling. She didn't get her one-on-one.
I understand what you're talking about, but the tale as old as time is still, even for WWE, who does whatever the hell they want, and they don't keep scores like that. The rest of the roster on Raw has just as much to fight for as Rhea does. Just my opinion.
I mean,
especially at this point in time. If we're talking back in August, you'd have a great case. We're now in almost November.
I feel as though I still have a great case. Raquel Rodriguez came and ruined the match. That's the story that they're playing right now.
And that's
she came and ruined the match
because she wants to keep fighting somebody that has help. It is what it is.
I mean, that's just the story, bro. I mean,
it's just like when Cody kept fighting Roman and kept losing. That's why. Anyways, we can move
Solo lost twice to Cody and still wants the title too. I mean, it's a tale that consistently happens. I mean, it's just gonna happen. Who right now deserves a title shot on Raw right now?
It's not about who does or who doesn't, Mark. It's
yes,
just
it does, because you haven't built the star yet. You haven't built someone ready for Liv. It all plays a part. If you had somebody ready to take on Liv, then you could see it. But as of right now, even though there's a amount of talent on Raw, who's ready right now to step up? Okay, now I'm the next challenger for Liv. You haven't established that. There hasn't been a number one contenders match. There hasn't been a tournament. There hasn't been someone feuding enough.
They have them all. They have the entire women's roster in one match before this.
That's the booking issue. And that's all.
They have the entire women's roster on one match.
That's all I'm saying. So you had
Becky comes back.
You had the bad booking for the finish, and then you had the bad booking for booking 10 fucking females in one tag team match that was pointless.
Definitely was. Okay,
it's the tales of old time.
Well, I mean, Selena Vega. I think
I agree.
Pretty good.
I agree, but
Lyra Valkyria, she's new to the roster. I get it.
They already demoted her. She was making appearances on fucking NXT.
Right, exactly. I mean, PFC, they haven't done enough yet for one of them to get a shot at that.
That's why you need all the time. That's why you need the feud to continue. Unfortunately.
Okay. All right, we can move on.
Unfortunately, it's what it is. Anything else you guys want to talk about Raw? Anything that you guys liked, disliked, negative? All right, chirp. All right, cool.
Can we talk about NXT now?
We're going there right now. All right, so real quick, NXT match card. We had Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Kaylani Jordan defeating Fatal Influence. Angel's Girl finally wrestled in a match in Fatal Influence.
She looked pretty good, actually. I'm not going to lie.
She did.
She looked pretty good.
Tony D'Angelo.
Match of the night.
Dude, let's go.
To become the North American champion. Should have been the main event.
Did we all call that?
I don't know. I know I did. What's next for Oba? That's a big question. We had Fraxium defeating A-Town Down Under to retain the NXT championships, and then Randy Orton defeating Javon Evans, which should have just opened the show.
With a botched ending.
With a very botched ending. We had some notable segments, though. We had Lola Vice, who wants Jada Parker, but we had the return of fan favorite Nikita Lyons. So we're getting Lola Vice versus Nikita Lyons next week. Metaphor wants a women's tag team title shot, and they will be on SmackDown. They have that match confirmed for SmackDown against Jade and Bianca. Evans versus Paige and Wesley in a number one contenders match next week. And whoever wins that match will get Trick Williams at Halloween Havoc. We have a new female wrestler that is being teased. I don't know if that's like a homegrown talent. I don't recognize anybody from the indie, so that's kind of interesting. It looks like she's just walking around like Rampage and just destroying buildings and people, which is kind of funny. And then we had the Roxanne Perez promo, which is really cool. She's gloating about her victory. She reignites her friendship with Cora Jade, gives us an explanation, which is what I asked for, because Cora Jade was the one who turned on her. So I really appreciated that they acknowledged that fact that Cora turned on her, so why side with her? So I thought that was really good. And then Julia interrupts, and also with Stephanie Valkyr. How do I say her name? Valkyr? I don't know her name. With Stephanie Valkyr finally makes her NXT appearance, and they all brawl. They're allies, but yet everyone really wants Roxanne's championship. So Gonzo, you wanted to talk about NXT. Thoughts, Bubba?
Oba. He broke my heart. I had said that he was going to go undefeated during his time in NXT, and then he would just ascend onto the main card. But who better to lose to than Rocky himself? And there was even Rocky 3, Eye of the Tiger references throughout that, along with, I think it was a number 1 by Nelly reference, all in the same match. So the call-outs, the shout-outs, the athleticism, it was fantastic. That was a pay-per-view match, to be truthful.
That match should have been in Chicago. Me and Angel got gypped. They should have gave Tony D'Angelo the hometown crowd. That was bullshit. But go on, Gonzo. Continue.
Yeah, but it builds even greater heat for Oba, because he even had the ultimate villain arc where he took out all 3 of the hench people, and ultimately you see Tony snap because, again, Oba put his hands on a female, and so he went Super Saiyan, did his thing. And the fact that he beat him with the roll-up, which was fantastic. So
after he gave him the spine buster, but yes, he
and he referenced Ron Simmons. He's like, "Yo, Ron Simmons will be proud of that one." I thought that was cool. My boy APA.
There was a lot that was done in that match that the crowd was rocking with that one. The energy, like I said, that was a pay-per-view match for sure. I had a question. They were in Chicago last week. They're in St. Louis this time. Are they moving away from the Performance Center and actually giving these individuals opportunities to do more smaller venues now?
I think it's back in Florida next week. No?
I think they're in Florida next week, but I think they're going to be
Hurricane.
moving.
Hurricanes.
Oh, it is hurricane.
Oh,
They might not have to. Yeah,
There's hurricane seasons.
I know they have another new performance center that they're getting off the ground in Vegas. I don't know if they're going to Vegas next week.
Let me look this up.
But I do know that they're moving the entire performance center away from Florida. I know that. But I don't know. That's a good question. I know that they're going to be traveling a lot more. That was part of the deal. But I don't think it's going to be as often as how Raw and SmackDown are. I think they will be in performance centers, more often than not.
Sure.
But that I really don't know. But go on with your NXT assessment.
Well, that was going to be one of my bigger questions is, were they going to start moving more, not 100%, but to include more different venues other than, like I said, the Performance Center? Because to be able to see the reaction of a Trick Williams amongst crowds, right, to consistently feel that energy, the Obafemi match is on top of it was fantastic. You had Jey Uso, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Randy Orton, A-Town Down Under. You had a lot of main roster talent that was on this show, and I will say it was very pleasing to see. And I think a lot of this also has to do with the fact that they have a new TV deal.
That's just what it is.
Okay, so I got something from Inside the Ropes. It says they have postponed multiple NXT house shows due to impending arrival of Storm Milton. Disruption is already in place, and residents, that's the resident stuff. But they've already postponed house shows for NXT. They haven't mentioned anything. Oh, NXT was scheduled to host 2 non-televised events, St. Petersburg and Orlando, on the 11th and 12th. But these have been delayed. The St. Petersburg show will now be on the 20th, blah, blah, blah. What's the latest? They don't say anything about the live show yet, though. But yeah, they've already postponed those. Sorry.
Well, there you go. Just based on live events and everything, they're still going to be home base is Florida. So, I mean, I don't see them traveling often. I mean, but who knows? They might. I mean, so, but like you said, Gonzo, I mean, the reason all these guys were coming down is because they're on the CW. They need to make sure that these ratings are hitting. Because actually, if you go on the CW app, CW has 2 wrestling promotions. So they got WWE and they got NWA. So NWA was supposed to be televised, but WWE stopped it when NXT signed. So NWA has been reverted to the CW app. So if you do want to watch some NWA, that's where your boy LA Knight came from. Download the CW app. But yeah, so I don't see them having all these main level stars come down every week. I mean, I think it was just because of this like double 2-week launch on the CW network. So, but we'll see. I could be wrong. They already demoted Lyra. Lyra's been going on that show. So, I mean, who knows? I don't know. The WWE draft doesn't mean shit anymore. We're 6 months past it now. So, this doesn't matter. Angel, thoughts on NXT?
Yeah, the Opa and Tony D match was amazingly fun to watch. Great ending. So cool to see Tony get his moment. Opa's been such a great champ. But he lost to someone that deserved to go over on him if he was going to lose at some point, if he wasn't going to go undefeated. Had he won this match, I don't see him losing ever again, to be honest, until he got called up. And then Roxanne did her thing. The triple threat match, it's an interesting story, I guess. Evans keeps getting these number 1 contenders opportunities, but I don't know. I don't really know why. I guess just because he's the youngest star
is he the Daniel Martin of
he's
of
20,
NXT right now?
He's 20 years old.
He's just the youngest.
He's a crowd favorite.
You know?
They like it. I don't know.
Because he kind of got just thrown in there. Like Wes versus Ethan kind of made sense, but Evans, I like Evans. Don't get me wrong. He's really cool. He's a good face, but I don't know. And his match against Randy was fun. Randy, did his thing. The ending, I think Evans did too much of a risk with that corkscrew RKO that they were supposed to pull off, and they had to fix it. But other than that, I mean, it was okay. I liked Cora Jade. I don't know much about her, but I'm interested in her character for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone is. All right. Tony D'Angelo finally gets his flowers. Honestly, if Tony D'Angelo would have lost this match, they should have just called him up after that, just because he lost his chance when he could have had the championship, the NXT championship, which he never got. He lost his cup, and then he already lost to Oba once. And if he lost to Oba again, that there was absolutely just no point, in my opinion, just to keep Tony there. I mean, his character's huge. I think he would flourish in the mid card eventually, maybe as a champion in SmackDown. SmackDown could use a new influx of talent, but he won it. I'm great. Wish we would have saw it live, but I'm just glad that he won. When it comes to Cora Jade, you guys already know she turned on Roxy. I already told you guys that a couple weeks ago. So I'm just really glad they gave us a backstory as to what brought them back together and how she kind of approves on how Roxy is now. So that's good for me. Nikita Lyons is a huge fan favorite.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to say I was super happy Nikita came back.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot.
So, and now she's facing another fan favorite in Lola, and both are fan favorites for obvious reasons. So that's just what it is. So
just need Jade on there for a triple threat, dude.
Yeah, so I don't even know where the fans gonna side on that match. So that's, I mean, but it's just, I mean, I'm Team Lola, so I mean, whatever. That's just me. When it comes to Evans, Paige, and Lee, I did want to ask you guys who deserves that number one contender spot, or who should get it? Who should go to Halloween Havoc?
I think if I could go real quick, I think Paige deserves his rematch for sure. Wes has a lot going for him right now, and he's been through some cool storylines, had great North American title run, obviously, had to face Oba, so on. But I still have Ethan. You know, for me, Ethan deserves a rematch, his claws, as he called it, and everything. And then Wes, and then, you know, Javon is cool, but like I said, I already talked about that. So,
Gonzo, who deserves number one contender right now?
I like Wesley. Why not? I'll finally break on this. I think if you give him an opportunity just to give a slight pause, it'll add more fuel to piss off Ethan Page even more. And that'll ramp up the storytelling of him interfering, creating havoc, and being an issue not only just for the wrestlers,
Halloween
but then
havoc.
also, you know, for management on top of that. So I think if you were to allow Wes essentially to move forward, depending as to what you do presentation wise, that's what I'd like to see. Because if you give it to Ethan, where do you go after that? At least if you have him lose, it's going to go into his whole crybaby, my goodness, this is ridiculous. And you're going to give him more fuel and amp him up even more. And I would rather see that, to be truthful with you, because you're not going to want to see him in that spot, but he's going to force himself into that spot, if that makes sense.
I'm not going to lie. What WWE has been doing with Ethan Page is something that I haven't seen in a while, as far as giving him these great spots so early for an outside signed talent. What I'm saying is that this whole thing, me and Angel saw that championship match live between him and Trick, just the chemistry that him and CM Punk already have is already teasing us. Then he shows up on Raw, he's teasing us. So to your point, where do we go from here? They're already teasing. This guy's been in the company since what?
3 months now?
4 months, 3-4 months. They're already teasing
Like
a main
4 months
roster
almost,
call
yeah.
up with CM Punk. And he's already had 2 matches with Trick.
Well, I mean, I think it comes from his history. I mean, he's gone toe to toe with MJF. I mean,
Yeah,
he's done things that other
he's
talent hasn't done. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that are
he's
new.
he's a veteran. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
actually think they, like I said, I'll die on this mountain, dude. AEW fucked up, and I think he might be getting a call up sooner rather than later. And he already has 2 matches with Trick, and they're
Let me see
1-1. They're agreed. They're 1-1 against each other. So I think they give him the number 1 contender match, and they have the rubber match at Halloween Havoc. Trick goes over, and maybe Ethan Page leaves and goes in the main roster. He doesn't.
Well,
you don't have to. You know,
like absolutely destroying his GM. Like he literally says, "I can't stand her." Like every chance he gets, he talks about. And I think that's part of the story of him leaving. Like, oh, I don't have a shot down here because of what the hell's her name? Ava? I don't have a shot because of Ava. So like I need to get the hell out of here. I think that's what's coming for Ethan.
I think it might be possible. Like he wants to be treated as like this it guy. You know what I mean? And Eva's not treating him like that. So maybe I really truly think that he wins that number 1 contender, and they give him a trilogy. And speaking of trilogies, do we get a trilogy with Oba Femi versus Tony D'Angelo? Where does Oba go from here? So does Oba get his rematch? Do we set him in the ring one more time? Is Oba ready for a call up? Or do we do what Oba does and just be like, all right, fuck the North American Championship. I had my way. And maybe just go after Trick now, like right away. Like, what's next for Oba?
I think Oba is the Gunther of NXT. So I think he's going for that NXT title. That's how I see him and Gunther are very similar paths.
I agree. I mean, I think that's a pretty good take. Gonzo, do you have anything as far as that?
Do you keep him off for maybe an episode or two? Maybe to help just kind of allow him to die down a little bit. You already have him as a heel, technically, because he was doing a bunch of heel tactics anyway. So I would say you're going to have him be off maybe an episode or two. And then at some point, once you get through the Halloween Havoc stuff, allow all that type of direction to kind of settle and go whatever direction that it's going to go. I like the idea of inserting him into that title run because Trick's going to need to spar with an individual. And what better way than a gigantic monster that you just built up, right? Now, the question is, when do you insert that is the question, right? So I don't know if you have Oba just go through and take out all his anger and vengeance and just decimate a bunch of other bodies, right? And then at some point when you're probably, I don't know, Royal Rumble time, do you do it, right? Because that's where you're starting to gear up to WrestleMania, but then also Last Stand. Maybe that's when you see it.
Yeah, I mean, so Trick's first title run was so lackluster. It's really hard for me to have Oba go for that championship right away because I feel like if Oba goes for that championship, he needs to win because he's just that good. And I can't see Trick having another one defense and then drop the title. I mean, I think you need to give Trick Williams a significant run this time, which is why I'm saying I think that he needs the trilogy with Ethan Page and he needs to go over on Ethan Page. And I'm okay with Oba stating his intentions, but maybe Oba needs to chase a little bit. So maybe I think Gonzo kind of hit on the nose, maybe around Royal Rumble time, January, where that's when we fully see Oba in pursuit of the NXT championship. So maybe also give a trilogy with Tony D, and maybe Tony D goes over on him again and let Oba kind of, reassess what's going on and then just go on a tear in pursuit of the NXT championship just to give him something to do in that time. But seeing Oba go straight for it, well, I'm all for that. It's just like you really will kill Trick if you have this guy lose the championship after one defense again. Mm-hmm. So, but that's just me. All right, guys, final thoughts on tonight's show. Anything you want to talk about, bring to light, anything we didn't talk about? Angel, final thought.
First thing, NXT, one last idea about that. Fraxium is really good in the ring. They have really good combo moves. I see why they keep giving them the titles because their matches are really fun to watch. As far as characters, they're kind of, their little spot with Randy Orton was cool, but I like the way they wrestle together. Like,
me too. I love them as a team. I do not want them breaking it up at all.
Yeah, they're good in the ring. First thing, the women's speed champion is Candice LeRae, by the way.
Oh, okay.
She beat Io Sky in the final.
Well, they don't know what to do with her. They don't know what to do with her. They don't know what to do with her on the main roster, so that makes sense. All right, go on.
Right, her first singles title. I don't know if that counts, but hey.
That's Johnny Gargano's wife. Go on.
Yes, it is. It is. And then the men's speed tournament got released today. It is 8 competitors. The first half of the bracket, Sheamus versus Vinci. Braun Breaker
Vinci's winning
versus Cruz del Toro. Did you hear me say Braun Breaker?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay. That's the first part. And then the second half of the tournament is Dragon Lee versus Tavion Heights. And Tozawa versus Riley Osborne. And Andrade still the champ, by the way, in case you forgot.
Yeah. Braun Breaker's in that match, but we've already saw what happened. This is how that match ends. You ready? Jey Uso comes and beats the shit out of Braun, causing him to lose his match. Because otherwise...
A speed match? That'd be hilarious, actually.
Yes. It's the only way.
Now I'm watching that match for
if
sure.
Braun Breaker's in it, dude, he has to win, right? Like it's Braun Breaker, bro. Like you cannot you have to have a dirty finish. So what happens? You have Jey Uso.
I mean, it's Cruz del Toro, and then
know?
he'll either face Vinci or Sheamus in the next round. So yeah.
So maybe he beats Cruz del Toro just so you can get the fast, so you can get the social media impressions of him spearing, and then when he faces someone of like Sheamus or something, that's when Jey Uso comes and makes him lose dirty.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Sheamus goes over. Vinci's just a jobber right now. Officially.
There's no way Braun Breaker's in that tournament and not winning unless he loses dirty. There's no way. No way.
Right. That'd be weird though, him being a speed champ, but hey, might be.
I doubt it.
That's all I got. Go ahead, Gonzo.
Gonzo, final thoughts.
I just want to see more Wyatt 6. So the revival of the Final Testament and the Wyatt 6. This is what I am all geared up for. This is what I want.
And that leads to my final thought.
Oh, boo.
The Miz?
These fucking Wyatt 6, we're back to teasing. You've already debuted. Give me something. They're falling into this creative abyss of not knowing what to do. They should have had a major blow-off with Chad Gable, and they didn't. It should have been a one-on-one match between Chad Gable and Uncle Howdy, and that wasn't there.
Did someone get hurt or something? Like, I don't get the ending of that whole thing.
That whole feud, it's American Made is already trying to move off to something different. But I will give it this, like, it's just
I don't get
right now. As much as David loves this Wyatt 6 lore, and it's really cool, and I get it, they're failing. In my eyes, they're failing right now. They need to figure it out. We had no payoff with them whatsoever.
I wouldn't call it failing, but they're teetering on like back towards like, the hype was so huge and they didn't capitalize on the hype. I will say that. I love them in the ring. I want to see them in the ring more.
Me too.
Why aren't they in the ring?
Me too. But we're back to glitches on TV and QR codes. What's the point?
Or even backstage events and segments. Why can't they attack somebody or hold someone hostage or stalk somebody? They're not doing anything like that. Like their next big segments or whatever you want to call it, their next big storyline better have this stuff. I better see stuff backstage. I better see them all together, stalking, fighting in a ring, jumping people. I need something because that first jump was great. And then we haven't had anything.
That was the highlight of their whole thing, was that whole leaving everyone for dead. That was it. That was it. In my eyes, like I said, this is me. Not everybody else is printing. They are failing. Hunter, help them. Figure it out. All right, guys. So that is going to conclude our episode 29. Before we get out of here, Angel, where can everybody find you and what do you got going on?
Twitch, Kick, and all social medias at @A_OK Gaming. Find me gaming, tweeting, posting videos, hanging out with these guys, playing Siege, Yu-Gi-Oh! 2K, whatever the hell else we got going on. Dragon Ball Z if Dave ever gets it. Maybe some WWE with Marc because it's free now. We'll see what happens.
It's free. Gamer tag. Let me know, guys. Gonzo, what do you got going on? Where can we find you?
As far as things going on, I am doing a lot of hyper-focusing on fantasy football stuff right now, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely... Hey, I didn't say... I said positively. Just hyper-focusing on fantasy football.
We're on the same league, Gonzo. You don't have to...
I have another league that I'm a part of too. So aside from that, there's the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel that I do fire up, whether it's on my phone or I do go on PlayStation. Yes, I do a live stream from time to time. And then the three of us actually jump on that as well. So as far as the social media stuff, it's going to be Instagram. Then it's also going to be, oh, goodness. Wow, having a brain fart.
X, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah, there you go. All that fun stuff. And so as far as the raising_personalities, I use that for all my social media except X. X is going to be the David_MA_LCPC. And so that is just, again, what I got going on. Not too much.
All right. And for me, guys, you know where to find me. All social media, pro_wrestling_Kingpin. Follow that YouTube if you guys watch, please. But if you guys want to find me on TikTok, I'm much cooler there. But like I said, I'm still trying to build the YouTube. With that being said, I will be doing a live WWE 2024 Prism pack opening this Sunday night, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have 2 hobby boxes and 5 blasters. It'll be a nice. I don't do breaks.
He also puts those on his TikTok too.
So if you don't see the live show, you will get to see the clips of the hits and the non-hits. If I have to suffer, so will you. But once again, with that being said, guys, please join us every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. But starting November 3rd, please don't forget, we will be moving to Sundays, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or if you don't want to see our ugly faces, please follow us on Spotify. You can look it up by the Smack Talk Wrestling Podcast. But until then, remember, always acknowledge your true tribal chief, the OTC.
OTC. No, put your thumb up.
OTC.
You need to put your thumb up.
And we out. Get a shirt and come talk to
Mr.
me.
Solo.
OTC.
No, you don't. Because The Rock took back his spot. That you don't get to just
ego.
drop him. That's your boy.
All ego.
The rest of the year.
We'll see you next week. And David sucks at Guess the Wrestler. And we out.